As coal's big growth years faded, King Coal began its slow descent from the throne of Roslyn's top industries in the late 1920s. Then, on the national front, in October of 1930, the Great Depression began its decade-long hit to working men and women everywhere. But there was a bright beacon shining for local miners and their families. Work, and plenty of it, was promised when No. 9 mine was commissioned in 1929. Called the Baby Mine, construction on the mine started in 1928 as the Northwest Improvement Company anticipated the exhaustion of No. 7 mine, its top producer.
I'm Nick Henderson, local historian of the Roslyn area, raised in Roslyn, have been involved in the Roslyn Museum for 50 years. They tell me, and even my mother tells me, stories when they would go out for a picnic at the mine. That was the thing to do, and watch them build the mine, because that was the modern mine. That was the last one they built and the last one to close.
I was born and raised in Roslyn. Been here since 1942. My granddad worked in the coal mines. I had two uncles that worked in the coal mines. My dad worked in the coal mines. I was the last one out of our generation that worked in the coal mines. And that would be No. 9, which is next door to the winery here. It was really interesting. I mean, every day was a new experience down there, 2,600 feet down.
My family, who immigrated from Italy and all over the world, and most of them were born here long time ago in the early 1900s. They were all coal miners, as were everyone else in the family. My grandpa on my mother's side actually died from black lung, which is from breathing all that coal dust all those years. My uncle Stan Murphy was at the No. 9 mine right here, and he was the guy that took the canary into the coal mine to make sure everybody didn't die.
Baby proved to be much more than an infant, producing 22,000 tons of coal its first year. Production grew to 150,000 tons a year at its peak. The operation was so successful, it led Northern Pacific Railroad to build a mile-long branch line between Roslyn and Cle Elum, where coal shipped out to the rest of the country. Construction of the railroad and expanding facilities at No. 9 gave area families hope they could survive the Depression.
The miners got paid for an 8-hour day. They called it portal to portal. So the minute you went underground, your time started, and you got paid until you come out of the underground. But at the end of the mine, it was an hour to an hour and a half ride one way from portal to the face to do the production. So in your 8-hour day, you got 2 to 3 hours is just travel time.
Well, when I worked in the mines, I was making $24 a day. You know, I was getting paid for 8 hours, but only worked 6 because it took an hour to get in and another hour to get out. It was like just a car with a bunch of benches on it. If you could find that car, my first trip down in the mine, I think you could still find my fingerprints in the seats, because it started out at an angle like this and ended up going down like this and went down 2,600 feet. And then it was about 3 miles back to where we worked. So when we got to the bottom, there was tunnels that from the main entry that would go off to the right, to the left.
They worked hard. It was miserable work, but it was work. So that's why they came from all over the world to coal mine. You know, when we think of it now, it's so automated, but it was hard, strenuous, awful labor in darkness and miserable. They barely made money, but it was something, you know. I think my grandmother was probably financially the most comfortable after my grandfather passed away, and she got his black lung and all those payments. She finally actually had money to live on.
Chipping away at their hope was the growth of the electrical and gas industries, undercutting coal in the energy market as early as the mid-1930s. No. 9's roller coaster ride surged upward when the demand for coal grew during World War II. It was a brief respite. No. 9 watched its sister mines close, No. 5 in 1947 and No. 3 in 1956. For a short time, it looked like No. 9 might be saved as the Bureau of Mines experimented with hydraulic mining at the site. The experiment came too late, though, and the clanking and cranking came to a stop when No. 9 closed its doors in 1963, putting an end to coal mining in Upper Kittitas County. Lying quiet and still next to its slag pile, Tipple Hill, Old Number 9 began a well-deserved rest for all the years of employment provided to its miners.
I imagine the decision probably came from back east. I think it was St. Paul, Minnesota, where the mine headquarters were then. I can remember when I was in grade school and we had big classes, and then the mines closed and our classes went down like 15 people, maybe 20 kids in a class because people moved away. There was no jobs here.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, when the mines were rolling, there was a lot of infrastructure. At one point, there was 38 saloons in Roslyn. Roslyn was thriving. You know, it was big. You know, 38 saloons. There's 5 now. You know.
I went to work there in '61. I'd only been in the mines for about a year. If the mines would have kept working, I'd still be there, even at my age. After they closed the mines, the community around here just fell apart. I mean, there was no work, no jobs. I mean, there was no logging jobs, there was no sawmills. I mean, what are you supposed to do, sell pencils on a street corner? A lot of people moved out of town and moved over to the west side, went to work at Boeing. Or some of them just left the state altogether and went to Montana, different places where they still had coal mines.
It was a sad day for Roslyn and Cleveland, because there just was, Cleveland had the railroad it, you know, a little bit, and had a sawmill at that time that was still going, but Roslyn was sunk. That was it. The company store had closed, and that company store is one block of downtown Roslyn that's shut down. But it's just the way it goes, that, you know, nothing works forever.
Pine trees grew tall not far from the mine shaft, and the wind blew seeds onto Tipple, where a few struggled to take root. Not many at first, but a few, like a promise of things to come. That promise was realized almost 50 years later, on September 10th, 2010, when Swiftwater Cellars opened its doors at 301 Rope Rider Drive, right next to Number 9 Mine. The Pacific Northwest's ultimate winery destination, Swiftwater's forecourt sits a few yards from the entrance to the mine shaft.
In 2008, I'd sold my company and knew I was going to get bored very quickly, and decided, because we had wine grapes up in Patterson, Washington, decided I'd build a little winery, and that was a result of this.
This is our little winery. I thought we were building a tasting room. I had no clue that when I saw the printout of his vision, the tasting room was ginormous, and instead we have a restaurant, a concert venue, a wedding venue, a little boutique. But he was the man with the vision. I think I'm the workhorse behind it sometimes.
The Number 9, when Don Watts came along to open up the Swiftwater Winery, and I got to know him just by being in the same coffee shop, no formal business introduction. And we were talking about history, and so I'll come help you with your history for your winery and see what your idea is. And so him and I worked a lot together.
So obviously the Number 9 Mine
Yeah.
set on the piece of property that they sold to us, and so it was kind of fun to go to the museum, and I did a lot of research, and we found old pictures, which you can see on the wall, that we had blown up.
So after the winery was opened, they decided to have a wine club, which many wineries do. And they made an announcement through an email that sign up for the wine club was available. And as it turned out, I was the first one to register. So Cindy and I have the Black Diamond Number 1 designation on our wine locker as the first members to join the wine club at Swiftwater Cellars. Early after we became involved in the new project, which became Suncadia and Tumble Creek, we met Don and Lori Watts, who it was their vision to build this winery and create a community area for gathering. Many of us joined over here when the Rope Rider Golf Course was built, and it really created a full development for the area with the activities of golf, a fine dining restaurant in the winery, and also an area just to get together for a casual visit with friends.
It overlooks Tipple Hill, where a host of seeds have germinated over the years into a wild spread of native grasses and shrubs. The view is completed with a broad expanse of greenery provided by Suncadia's Rope Rider Golf Course. Where coal was once king, wine is the new royalty. The former clanking and cranking is replaced with beauty, hospitality, excellent food, and people enjoying life. Success is counted not in tons of coal, but in bottles and cases of wine, many of them award-winning. King coal has been replaced, but not forgotten. In fact, it's honored. Purposefully, Swiftwater Cellars has healed, reclaimed, and restored the industrial landscape of a renewed No. 9 mine without erasing its history. They embraced it by incorporating the mine's tipple building, where coal was transferred to railroad cars, into the winery's design. Coal's storied past is pervasive throughout the building, with mining artifacts alongside old photographs gifted to the winery by descendants of the miners.
I wanted to build something that was kind of a tribute to the history of the area. What we wanted to do is build something that was extremely impressive when you first walked in. And the thing that I seen, especially in those early years, when people walk in, the first thing they do is they look up. But I think that this is the grand entry to the winery.
We have gotten a lot of the local people that have come through and have shared their stories with us because we've tied the history of it in, and of course the pile out there, the
tailing
Hill
pile, yeah.
And everything. So it's been wonderful to learn all about the area.
And of course, one of the winery's signature wines is labeled with pride, No. 9. No longer abandoned, the pride that lived when miners produced the coal fueling this country's energy economy has returned. Swiftwater Cellars has restored a sense of honor to No. 9 mine, embracing its history, honoring the hard-working people who made it great, and demonstrating the healing power of human determination.
We're enjoying the fruits of their labor and their fabulous wine, and so where we go from here, it's only going to get better. So
It's nice to see this winery here. You know, that way the local people that have moved away from here can always come back and they can see the slag pile out here. You got the winery here, they can sit down and have lunch. They can have, a glass of wine, whatever they want. And they can sit here and bring back memories. Bring back lots of memories.
And the community grew and the mines were great and everybody was doing well. Then the mines closed and everything sinks and you're heartbroken and financially broke. But now we have the tourists that are coming. I always tell people Roslyn staggers and it wobbles and it staggers a lot, but it never quite falls over. You think you got Roslyn down. It's like, no, you don't. It's just wobbling a little bit. And there's a sense of community in that town.